It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Thursday, September 7th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have sermons in the sky, the QNA Thursday word study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is Thursday. We are reaching the end of the week, and I am super thankful and happy. If you haven't yet, leave some likes and comments to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message: learn from me and believe it absolutely and live strong. So powerful message this week. A lot of you guys in the Eastern world or in Asia have already listened to the message. Those of us in the Western world, well, for me at this moment while I'm recording, it's still Wednesday. I'm not going to be hearing the message probably for another 9 hours until this message actually comes out. So that's actually the time I'm actually recording this message. It's Thursday, but it's Thursday for Asia, but I'm recording this on Wednesday, which means that it is still my birthday. It's kind of weird because I have all the Asians calling me on the day before because they're a day ahead. So they're all wishing me happy birthday. And then on Wednesday, the time right now, because it's still morning, I have people in the Western countries congratulating me and giving me congrats on my birthday too. So, I'm going to do this podcast and then I'm going to have a super nice lunch. My mom called me from Scotland. She's in Scotland right now at the moment. And she told me, eat really well, have anything you want on me. And I was like, whoa, anything? Right? I'm like, anything? But, it's a bit different to go out. It's like my parents aren't here. And, of course they left me their credit card, not to do anything I want, but just, I guess for this occasion when it's for my birthday and stuff. But even if I go out to eat a nice lunch for my birthday alone, it's like, I'm not I wouldn't be lonely doing that. It's just weird to celebrate alone. Isn't it? Kind of? No? Isn't it weird to celebrate alone? No? Because, I'm thinking maybe it's because I'm an extrovert. And because I'm an extrovert, I want to, to celebrate together with others, right? Because is a celebration really a celebration without others? So, as I was thinking about this, then, your thoughts get a little bit deeper. And then I thought to myself, but then I think about Sunsim this year. How did he spend his birthday this year? And it's kind of like, it kind of makes me sad. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to celebrate with people, which is true. But then I think about Sunsim and he couldn't celebrate with anyone this year because he is where he is right now with his trial and stuff. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, what's the best way to celebrate? And it's kind of like what Sunsim said is when you come to Korea, the first place you go to is to greet me or to, greet the Holy Trinity in Wolmyeongdong. And I thought to myself, you know what? For my birthday this year too, the best thing to do is to greet the Holy Trinity and celebrate with them first. Like I had a good celebration in the morning because I had a good pre-dawn prayer, just thanking God for my life. For 45 years, I've been kept safe and alive, which is pretty incredible if you think about it, right? Because it's incredible because you look at 45 years, like how many days is that? That's like almost 16,500 days where God has been keeping me safe. God has been really just taking care of me. Like that's a lot of days, right? 16,425 plus, there's the leap year. So there's probably going to be about another extra 10 days. So about 16,435 days, right? Or 36 days, whatever it is. And then if I were to times that by hours, that's like 394,200 hours, which is also 23,652,000 minutes. And the reason I'm calculating it like that is because if you think about it, God is taking care of us every minute, every second of the day, because an accident or something can happen at any single moment. So I was like so thankful. 45 years of my life, my physical life, he's really protected me. And then another 25 years in Providence. It's just been a blessing. It really has. So I am, I was really thankful, and I spent most of my time just thanking God. And, I think this is the year that I have received the most birthday wishes, the most, than any other year. What it feels like. Like this year, I think I received the most birthday wishes, like people just texting me and stuff like that. And this is why I'm so thankful, because when I get those, when I receive a lot of these like birthday wishes, I really think about, wow, God has really taken care of me. Like I'm even more thankful to God. And of course, I'm even more thankful because this year I received the best birthday gifts. Because I got a ton of coffee. Super thankful for everyone who sent me like coffee and such on the website. I'm astounded, because it's actually the ones that have sent me presents have mainly been from Asia, because Asia, September 6th is yesterday for me. Whoops, what did I do? Yeah, but now today I'm starting to get like coffees from people in the Western countries, so that's kind of cool too. But I'm thankful. I got the best gift. I got a lot of wishes. I really felt God's love, and I'm just more and more thankful. And like I even had like people in the world, like my worldly friends in Malaysia and such, sending me pictures and wishes. And this one Malaysian friend's like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're really lucky." And I'm like, "Why?" People born on September 6th are supposed to be, are going to be rich. I was like, really? And then in my head, I was like going, whoa, God, am I going to be rich? And then kind of the feeling was spiritually. I was like, oh, okay, I got it, right? So I am definitely thankful. But my friend was telling me, this is a worldly friend in Malaysia, and she was like, you should buy a lottery ticket. Today's your day. I was like, well, yeah, maybe I'll get a lottery ticket. I'm not so sure about this, but yeah, I was very, very thankful and grateful for all the best wishes. So once again, thank you for everyone. Those of you guys who bought me coffee, those of you guys who sent me your wishes, so thankful. A lot of people told me that they were praying for me a lot too, and yeah, I'm now getting a lot of calls from Korea, not for my birthday, but because of my YouTube channel. Not this one, the other YouTube channel. Those of you guys don't know, I think I talked about yesterday too, is I am the featured YouTube channel. Korea called me and says, hey, can you do like make a little introduction video to your channel, so people know how to, people can look at your channel and see how to make a YouTube channel kind of thing. I was like, oh wow, okay, sure. So I think only leaders have seen it, because I got leaders that called me, but I think this week's Friday prayer meeting, I think it'll be posted again as an example for internet ministry. So that's kind of cool too, right? And that kind of reminds me right now, I really want to go to Korea, like super duper want to go to Korea, because I have so many people texting me and calling me, foreigners that are visiting Korea, and they are receiving so much fire. Like one person said they received a new heart. One person saying that received so much fire, like you have to come. And they attended the protest and they just felt the fire of standing up for this history. Remember they had the big protest in Womingdong like last Saturday? People said that during the testimonies, like it started to rain and everyone together was feeling the same thing, that these were the tears of God. Like when the rain was coming down while they're testifying. So I looked at that and I'm like, whoa. And they're like, Womingdong is so much more amazing now. They developed it. And like, it was just really inspiring. Like when I heard everyone who went there and how inspired they are. And, if any of you have gone to Korea and have any testimonies, I would love to hear your testimonies, or the fire that you received, or what was so inspiring about the protests, or what's happening in Womingdong, or like what the people are like right now, because I think it's a powerful thing. And I had a big realization from these protests and such, and I'm going to use that for my sermons in the sky as the last segment for today. But it's really powerful what is happening, and I think we need to be there to see it with our own eyes and feel what is happening over there. It's kind of like what I was saying yesterday. Sometimes we just got to challenge. We're not there. We don't feel it. We don't see all the things. We're not being attacked by Satan, all these other different things, but we need to be those that really stand up and say, wow, like we got to become more spiritual, put more effort in also. So I'm thankful about that too. The poll is going strong right now. We already got like 70 plus people that have voted for it, talking about what's our longest prayer. And that's why I said, this prayer challenge is a big thing. Let's do it this week. One day, whether it's a Saturday morning, whatever it is, when we have some time, try to beat your record. Like, I would love to hear testimonies of people saying that the longest prayer I had was an hour and I went for an hour and 10. I went for an hour and 15. Oh, my longest prayer was 2 hours. I went for 2.5 hours. Like, that would be amazing to hear people beating their own records, right? And for me, even what I look at right now, it's quite amazing to see that what percentage of people have done over 7 hours. Let me just take a look here. It says 8% of the people, right, have done over 7 hours, which I think is quite, that's a lot of people who've tried and gone that long in prayer. And, I think it's really noble, and it takes a ton of discipline for you to do long prayers for your level, right? Like even today at Pray Dawn, I tried a bit more today. I tried to, pray a little bit more. I prayed a little over an hour, and, it was basically, I realized how hard and how easy it is to pray longer. Right? It's not easy. However, it's just putting your mind to it, saying that, you can do this. Yes, I want to do this. The mind allows you to go further, longer and deeper. But the reason it's hard is because we don't think we can do it. We think that we're going to, oh, this is too hard for me. I shouldn't even try in the first place kind of thing, right? But if you really put your mind to it, you can go longer. Like even today, praying longer than I normally do. Yeah, I prayed longer. And I was like, what was the difference? Is my mind was saying, let's go, let's do it. Let's do it longer than before kind of thing. So I really hope that all of us can set new records this week. All right. There was a letter that someone from Korea sent me, which has been translated, which talks about internet ministry, and I talked about a little bit about that yesterday, right? And I wanted to read you some portions of it to inspire you and help you guys out when it comes to internet ministry. And remember, it doesn't mean every single person's making a brand new channel or something along that line. It's more of we need to be the ones that can support it in some way. Okay, so this is a letter from Korea HQ about internet ministry and reminding people about the direction of internet ministry that Sunseem talked about from 2017. Right. So I'll read you some excerpts from it. So here's some of the things from the letter. It says, "All of us are like John the Baptist from the old era, and based on John the Baptist's testimony, the fate of Jesus and the fate of the era was determined. Today, the world is filled with all kinds of slander and falsehoods about the life of the teacher, who lived according to the truth alone. Our greatest injustice is that we have not properly testified to the teacher. This is a sin for which we must repent. Now we must become like John the Baptist and testify." Right? So that is like, yeah, that is so true. We need to be those that, we hold the fate. The fate is in the hands of the John the Baptist of the time period, which is quite interesting for me too, because the name that Sunseem gave me is Chun Gil. Chun is heaven, Gil is road. It's like heaven's road. But Sunseem said that the meaning of Chungil, the meaning of heaven's road is the one who prepares the way for the Lord. So I was just like, wow, that's basically the role of John the Baptist, right? So let me read a little bit more. It says, "Now is a time when we must truly understand history, understand the teacher, and realize that we are the brides who have been raptured. It's time to receive the fire of the Holy Spirit, who is the witness, and act. Just as Peter, who understood the Lord and became a disciple, was able to martyr himself and spread the gospel because he understood clearly. The disciples of the New Testament had their hope solely in knowing who Jesus was and proclaiming it. We also genuinely hope that the testimony of this era will become our highest hope. It is about proclaiming that we are proud members of this providence, declaring the word of truth, and proclaiming the truth of this era. It's about proclaiming boldly with my life and the testimony of my lips. Do you believe that Jesus, whom we have been waiting for in the year 2000, is with us? Sunsim is with us in this era, so we believe that history will happen as long as we act. It is right now, the time to fulfill the teaching to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth, just as the Samaritans. Everything is prepared. There is a word of truth. The man of mission of this era is here, and we have the platform of the internet as the foundation of the gospel. Now is the time to boldly testify to God, the history of this era, Jesus, and the teacher to those who are waiting in this era. The words of the Bible are unfolding in reality, and God's work is being fulfilled. Yet people often fail to realize it. Prophecies are being fulfilled, and the awaited Savior has come to this land to carry out the work of salvation, but people remain unaware. This is because, contrary to expectations, God's promises have been fulfilled quietly, almost like a thief. Remarkably, when actual prophecies are fulfilled, as was the case with Jesus in Bethlehem, it was done quietly and calmly. Likewise, God worked silently and without fanfare. Now, at the same time, we all have a responsibility, whether at home, at school, or in the workplace. We must boldly testify to our beliefs. There are various ways to do this. Recently, a teacher, Sunsi, mentioned something like this. During the first half of the year, I preached to 2,000 or 3,000 people at once. You should also preach like me. The direction to preach online has been given among us. Those of you who joined the first half of the era, right, aren't you witnesses to history? He personally delivered the message to 2,000 or 3,000 people at venues like Busan KBS Hall, Seoul Station, spreading the gospel and saving lives. How can we achieve God's command and blessing of 1 million people evangelized on earth? You can do it. Can you do it? We believe that if everyone comes together, we can definitely achieve it. Through the internet, which is a benefit and blessing of this era, it can be done. As you take action, God will surely be with you, as he has said, and regarding specific methods, the teacher has talked about online missionary methods. He emphasized that we should adapt to the times and create our own channels on the internet, gathering members and using our talents to spread the message. This is the method that he has taught us. The teacher mentioned today the method of evangelism that he had conveyed back in 2017. Let me briefly proclaim his words. In this era, everyone is too busy with their daily lives, and it's challenging to teach and evangelize by taking their time. Relying solely on traditional methods may not be effective. Instead, we should adapt to the times and enter into their lives. We should observe the characteristics of this era and convey the message accordingly. For those with limited time, if we provide teachings through the internet that are relevant to their lives and make them accessible during their daily routines, they can learn without feeling burdened. We need to enter their lives, discussing things that can help them on a higher level than they currently are. By doing this, out of 100 people, at least 50 will share and follow. If they don't oppose, they are already considered congregants. When the time comes, we can gradually introduce the teachings either through the internet or various methods and gather them as members. Similarly, just attending Sunday worship makes one a congregant. This is what the teacher has shared. It is a crucial time for all of you to provide evidence to the world. The teacher mentioned that, and although his heart may still be in turmoil today, I have in want since the Almighty is with me. So the teacher persists and continues to write the words of this era, even while enduring the scorching heat of hellish temperatures, where the temperature is unimaginably high. Despite almost feeling like his flesh is cooking, he writes the gospel to the very end, even though it's as hot as if the flesh is truly cooking and holding on to a dim light. He knows that if he doesn't do it, the entire world of providence won't be able to hear God's words, Jesus' words, and the words of salvation. Therefore, we have a responsibility to become the body of the teacher and convey the words given by the teacher. If we don't convey them, the world remains ignorant. The teacher has taught me tirelessly, even until my tongue has become worn out, and has fervently prayed with the earnest desire to accomplish this will. We sincerely hope to fulfill this wish of the teacher. Right? And that's just part of the letter. It's a really, really long letter from the HQ in Korea, but it's very powerful how it's talking about internet ministry and how we need to do this. And it's, this is a time to do it, the most challenging time, but it's the time when God is with us. So today, it's something, that's why I wanted to talk about this today. So everyone, we need to bear witness to this era, right? And if I talk about this one last section, it talks about that website. I remember if we heard it on the Friday prayer meeting. And what the letter says is, to bear witness in this era, we have created an emergency witness site since last year, allowing members of all departments from elementary school to adults to carry out online missionary work. It's called Directly Announce. That's what the name of the site is. And it says directly announced by Sunset Name, right? Following the teacher's words, we have created personal channels online, allowing us to proclaim according to our talents. And within this site, we have gathered witness videos, teachings, proverbs, and psalms, as well as testimonies and news articles. Furthermore, we plan to develop and expand this into a comprehensive missionary arsenal, collecting all witness videos and materials for the future. Now, Sunseep, this is what God told Sunseep. God told me that if I live for another 100 years, I'll see it happen. So it will be practically fully dominated, right? Fully dominated, he said, just spread using the internet. So let's aim to achieve such a milestone through the internet. To help you achieve this goal, we are starting a simple campaign from today. First, we have 2 short missions to share with you. The first mission is to share good materials with 3 people each day. I believe many of you are already doing this. And the second mission is for each person to create 1 outreach channel per day. For those of you who might be worried about not having enough materials to share, we've prepared a website urgently, as mentioned by the pastor earlier from the Friday prayer nights, right? So this site includes things like Sunseep's teachings, proverbs, psalms, newspaper articles, and links to YouTube videos. So, this is going to be a site that everyone can use. And, this is really exciting because what makes this even more exciting is this is from 2017. It's something Sunseep's already been telling us to do in the past, which means we can do this. And Sunseep said, hey, if you do it, if you keep doing it, God will be with you. So let's do it wisely and not just post videos without context, or let's not do it in ways that don't fit your country or people, right? So even when you look at the website that's focused on Korean providence, take a look at it first. Is it proper for your country, for the people in your country too, right? So I think we need to do things that fit your country. And don't just post because it's from, it's from that website, so it's going to work in our country. No, you have to think about it. You have to look at it, see how well it comes out. And one thing I do think is quite amazing, not just the internet coming out right now, but it's also this new generation of children. They're very Koreanized, meaning they're into K-pop, they're into K-dramas, these actors, actresses, and idols. And it's not that weird to have Korean content. It just has to be done in the right way. So, for me, my thoughts are always, there's always a better way to do it. There's always a better way that fits your country more, right? We can't rely on just Korea to do all the content, but that's going to fit Korean culture and Korean people. We need our English internet ministry teams kind of revamping and doing it in a way that will fit our countries or our style or Western culture. And we got to work together to do it. So it's a call out to everyone about how to get things done. It's really exciting, right? It's super exciting because like the last message was like in 10 to 20 years, incredible amounts of people are going to come, which is way more than now. And then 100 years from this letter, Sunseep was like, from 2017, Sunseep was like 100 years later, it'll be unimaginable. So I really believe we'll be able to see what the future holds in our lifetime. So I'm excited about this for sure. Like super, super excited about it. Okay. So yeah, that's just reading that letter. It inspired me even more to think about better content for my other channel. Got to get myself back into it. Going to do some more YouTube shorts so that people will be able to see what's happening in, like when it comes to learning about this history too. Okay. So there it is, guys. That is the first segment for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. So we're going to move into the first break of the day.
Yeah, rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, belt to the truth, fastened, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying, everyone thinks I lost, but now I'm turning Super Saiyan, I gotta be new, gotta be great, I only gotta win this thing, fixing mistakes, fix who I am, all I wanna do is change, gotta be brave, gotta be tough, no more time for delaying, it's just training, all those times of pain, off, pushing my limits, only with God, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to feel God, enemies watching, they want you to fall, but you have to be better, you have to give it your all, every day I make myself, but I know it's not easy, this is the life I chose and I know my spirit's breathing, the battle has only begun and I may take damage, but if I fall, all I know how to do one thing, rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, belt to the truth, fastened, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying, everyone thinks I lost, but now I'm turning Super Saiyan, I'm Goku turning Super Saiyan, I'm charged up, now I'm playing, on the mount like Sinai, I connect with God like Wi-Fi, receive the word, always praying, spiritual path where I'm staying, everyone thinks I lost, but I'm always with him, so you know I'm prevailing, protecting myself from Satan, armed with the truth, now my angels will shoot like, now I'm at my truest form, I'm trying to really be the greatest, the power level can't contain it, my energy is never draining, look how far we have made it, unlocking levels never hesitating, there's no try, you can just do it or don't, so fix your thoughts instead, everybody makes mistakes, just gotta take notes, can afford to do it again, life is so easy, if you just do what is right and just follow what's real, victory comes through skill, gotta stay on course, time to kill. Time to rise and shine, bigger than the past and never forget. God is Lord, by your side, holding your hand, dry your eyes, trust in the Lord every night and day. He'll never let you go, don't fall away. Be bold, be brave, and with all your heart, love the Lord to the end of time. Rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, held to the truth, fastened, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying. Everyone thinks I lost, but I'm turning Super Saiyan.
And what an awesome song by the Sumney Boys, Rise Up. And I think that's kind of one of the things that we need to do right now as a history. We really, really need to rise up. All right. So let's get into it, guys. We're going to get into the word study for today. And of course, every single Thursday is the Q&A Thursday, and I've got two good questions that came up, and it's going to take a little bit of time to explain, but I hope you guys are going to really enjoy this. So the first question comes from SoundCloud, and this person said, I've been researching about the difference between heart, thoughts, and mind. Did Sunseem explain each of it before? And the answer is yes. So the heart, thoughts, and mind have been explained before by Sunseem in the soul entity lecture. I'm not sure the last, I haven't taught that in a very, very long time. But, especially when it came to the time of the rapture, during the time of the rapture, 2014 and 15, this is when, from 2013, I believe, this is when the soul entity started coming out. It was a little bit confusing, a little bit conceptual, and then slowly got it more and more detailed, right? So Sunseem has explained it before. The soul entity has three parts. The lowest is the thoughts, and then the heart is in the middle, and then the highest of your soul entity is the mind. Right? So let's start off one by one. Let's start off with thoughts. What are thoughts? Well, thoughts, we understand what thoughts are because we have them all the time. Now, thoughts are thoughts are life. That's this week's message, right? Was it last week's? No, this week's message. We're talking about how important thoughts are from last Wednesday's message, right? And it influences our actions. So how we think influences the way we live and how we act. Now, where do thoughts come from? Well, Sunseem said that thoughts come from your five senses. Meaning, touch, taste, hearing, seeing, feeling kind of thing, right? Those are the five senses that we have. And people think about things from how they interact with the world, with our five senses, right? So what do we think about? Well, it depends on what you listen to on YouTube, what you listen to on TV or Netflix, or from your friends, and which friends you talk to. These people are all going to influence your thoughts, right? Because when you hear it, you think about it. And this is kind of why we look at how important internet ministry really is at this time. It really is important because people will listen, they'll be influenced by good words, by the words of this time period. So the second one is seeing. We are influenced by what we see around us, and it affects our thoughts, right? Like, watching violent movies like John Wick or Equalizer 3, right? Yeah, like we are affected by these things. And like, I'll give you an example of how we're affected. Our thoughts are affected by what we see. On Sunday, just last Sunday, I was, I'm during Sunday service, I'm watching the service, I'm focused, and then all of a sudden, the corner of my eye, I see something moving on the floor. And I'm like, what's that? And I look at it, and it's a giant spider walking across the floor, like a giant one. I was like, what? So what here is, I see something across the floor. I'm listening to the words of God, but I'm distracted because I see a giant spider. And then all of a sudden, thinking to myself is like, what should I do? Should I kill it? Should I capture it? What should I do? Should I just let it go? And now my thoughts are towards this spider. And eventually, because I was thinking so much about it, I got up, got a tissue, I captured it, and then I let it go outside. And then I came back in, but I missed 3-4 minutes of the message, right? That's what our thoughts are. Our thoughts are determined by our five senses. Like what we feel with our hands, our physical body, playing sports, right? Being with your lover. All these are the different, is like what you feel, like the physical touch, right? And these are things that affect our thoughts. Our taste, right? All these things are going to affect us, right? What about smell? Smell is out there too. Smell is like you walk by a pizzeria, you smell this amazing pizza, and what's happening? Your thoughts are thinking about pizza, right? So your thoughts are affected by the world and your interactions with the world with your five senses, right? Which leads us to the next level, which is the level of the heart. Now, the heart is more emotional, right? Your heart has nostalgia. Your heart has feelings, right? And your heart will also interpret some of your thoughts by feelings. Like, for instance, say you smell a pizza, but nostalgia can come in if, imagine your grandfather passed away, but he always took you out for pizzas on every Saturday, right? Then you'd be like, oh, I'm thinking about my grandfather. And then while you're smelling the pizza, you start to cry because you have these emotions because you feel, oh, my grandfather kind of thing, right? So your emotions are things that you feel, the emotions that come out from the things that you see, from how you sense those things around you, or from your thoughts too. Because sometimes, even though we're not in Korea, we can think about sunsitting. We can think about what's going on and we can still feel something from it too. And emotion is much different because emotion is super powerful, right? That's why it's the next level. The emotion is so powerful, it can sway your reasoning and it can sway your decision making, right? This is kind of why people are swayed by, oh my gosh, it looks so nice. Let me go buy something. You go impulse shopping, right? Because you have these feelings and emotions, right? So if these two were the only two things, we'd just be pulled left and right from our thoughts and also from our hearts, right? However, that comes into the highest level. The highest level is the mind, right? The highest part of your soul is the mind. It is the deciding entity of your soul. Your thoughts and emotions are constantly coming in your head. They're running wild, but your mind is what makes a decision, right? Your mind is the one looking, your mind sifts through all the thoughts and the emotions and makes decisions of what you will actually do. And this is why you need to train your mind. You can't stop feelings, emotions. You can't stop your thoughts. It's going to happen anyways, but you can control and train your mind so you don't make bad decisions, right? It's you training your mind to control yourself, training your mind to understand delayed gratification, right? Delayed gratification, thinking more about the future and not just the present, right? Because if you think about it, if your mind is trained only for the present, you don't have any delayed gratification, what happens? You can basically justify every bad decision because you need it right now in the present. Because you're only thinking about the present, you've trained your mind only to think about the present, so you're going to make decisions based on the present. But it's those that have trained their minds, delayed gratification, thinking about the future, not just making snap judgments on what we heard on March 3rd from Netflix or March 12th or from someone who just tells us something. We're not making snap judgments, but it's delayed. Like, wait, let's see it out first. And I'm not gonna sit there and like all of a sudden leave everything behind with what I've done for the last 25 years. No, I'm gonna keep running until you show me absolutely that this is wrong or there's something else out there, right? It's having that mind, that mentality that is trained so that you can sift through all the emotion, all the things that sway your reasoning, your logic, and making the right decision, right? And like these are the three different parts of the soul entity, right? It starts with the thoughts, to the heart, to the mind. So that's kind of where you're going to understand this at a much, much deeper level. And I do implore you to go take a look at the soul entity lectures. Okay, so there's question number 1. Question number 2 is about the Holy Trinity. And it's about how do you explain the Holy Trinity to Christians? Right? Like the Holy Trinity, especially when it comes to the Holy Spirit and who the Holy Spirit is. And I'm going to tell you this is a tough question because not every person in the former faith is ready to listen to this lesson, right? Especially when it comes to the Holy Spirit, a lot of people not ready. And the one thing that makes the Holy Spirit lesson, like when you talk about the Trinity, become that much more difficult is this concept is difficult because there are other quote unquote cults that teach the same thing, which means that people are going to associate this teaching with a negative connotation, like, oh, it's from this church or this cult too, kind of thing, right? So that's why it does have it's a little bit more difficult for some people who know more. But for me, I don't teach it completely the same as the lecture guidelines. And I think the lecture guidelines are great, but for me, I'm just too logical and reasonable to just do it that way. So I need something more reasonable for me to teach about the Holy Trinity. So I do follow the guideline when it comes to, Hebrews 8:5, the copy and shadow of what is in heaven is what God made here on this earth, right? So Hebrews 8:5, of course, I'll use that. Talk about the copy and shadow. If you want to know the spiritual world, you got to know it through the physical world, right? Which means if we want to know about the Holy Trinity, right, and how great the exact details of the Holy Trinity, then we need to find the hints in the Bible about the Holy Trinity. The greatest hint comes from Jesus. Jesus gives a huge hint of the Holy Trinity by teaching about the Holy Trinity in the New Testament as the Father, Son, and the Spirit. So basically, he's interpreting God as the Father, that the Holy Son is the Son, and the Spirit is the Spirit. So I can use this example to compare the spiritual to the physical. What did Jesus compare it physically to? A family unit, right? God changes to the Father. Jesus turns to the Son. And the Spirit is the only one that didn't change. But we know that in a family unit, what's missing is the mother, right? So this is where I'll slowly get into this here. But when it comes to the Holy Trinity, one of the bigger questions that people have that we need to explain well to a Christian is, how are they one but separate? Are they literally the separate being? What does it mean that they're one? Now, this is the big thing that is taught in Christianity about the Holy Trinity. It is one being. It is all God, but in 3 different parts. They are the same, but 3 different parts, right? So how do we teach about the Holy Trinity being the same, but also separate? And this is when I would go into, to teach this really well, to understand how the Holy Trinity is separate but one. Look at Jesus' analogy of the family. How is a family one but separate? The only thing that makes people family is blood. It is absolutely about the blood, right? Parents can disown their children, children can disown their parents, but the one thing that you cannot take away is the blood. The blood contains the DNA. You can't help it. It's the blood that is in you. That's why, we're talking about, we're the same blood. It means we're the same family. We are bound by blood, and it is impossible to change that blood. So even though there is a son and a father, they are one. Why? They contain the exact same blood. Blood is what makes the family one. Okay? So, how does this relate to the Holy Trinity? Well, just as the blood is a thing that makes a family one, we need to figure out what is the blood of the Holy Trinity, right? What is the blood that makes the Holy Trinity one? Well, let's go into what blood symbolizes in the Bible. So the place that we can find that is in the Last Supper, when we figure out what the blood actually symbolizes, right? So Jesus holds the Holy Communion, and he says, take this wine and drink this and take part of me, right? The blood is the wine. So the Holy Communion references that blood is symbolized by wine, and of course, the flesh is symbolized by bread. So if we go into the parables lecture we learned near the beginning of the Bible studies, parables only have two answers. It's either people or the word, right? Peter and the fish tells us about the parable of people, like the fish is actually a person, and then the judgment of fire teaches us that parables can also be the word. So if we were to do this, like what Sunstein said in the past, is 90% of the parables in the Bible are about people, animals, nature, flowers, trees, rocks, clouds, sun, moon, stars, like all these natural things are talking about people. The remaining 10%, which is the word, we see them like weapons, instruments, fire, right? And also the one that we know for sure is food, right? Food is also a parable for the word, right? Like when we say, Heavenly Father, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. It's not just talking about daily food, but our daily spiritual food too, right? What is spiritual food? It's the words of God. So food includes both bread and wine, right? Those are both foods, which means it's symbolizing the word. Wine symbolizes the word, which means blood is the word, okay? And the interesting thing is, when Jesus says, drink my blood and eat my flesh, but what is flesh? Flesh is symbolized by bread, which is also the word. So blood and flesh are all both talking about the word. The difference is the blood and the flesh are talking about two different things of the word, right? The flesh is on the outside of the body. The blood is on the inside, pumped by the heart. What does that mean? Well, it means that the flesh, if the flesh is the bread, which is the word, which means you need to have the word in your actions, right? The word is my actions. I have the words of God so deeply inside me. I'm putting the words into action. I'm eating Jesus' flesh, which means I'm doing the same actions as Jesus. To drink the blood is to take on the word on the inside that pumps through your heart. So the word has to be inside your head and in your actions, right? So now that we know that blood is symbolic of the word, right? So just as a family is tied by blood, the Holy Trinity is also united by blood, which is the words of God. So how is the Holy Trinity one and separate? Holy Trinity are three separate entities with three different roles, but they are bound by the words of God. They are bound to fulfilling the will of God. God is the one in charge of the heavens and the earth. God is in control of all things. He has a plan. It is God's will. The Holy Spirit is the inspirer, the motivator, the one that gives grace, the one that comforts us, right? And then you have the Holy Son, which has the role of giving salvation to human beings. They're all different roles, but they are bound by the same word, the same blood, the will of God. And that's how they are separate but the same. They work in different roles, but all fulfill the exact same will. Now, if this makes sense to you, then you can understand how Jesus became the Son. Even though he was a human being, how did he become the Son? Well, the only way you become a son is if you have the same blood. But we know that the blood is the Word. So how did the Holy Son train Jesus? Through the Word. The Holy Son trained Jesus to the point he became the living Word. He took the blood of the Holy Trinity, put it inside him, put it into action, fulfilling the will of God. His sole purpose was to fulfill the will of God and bring salvation to the world, which means he now has the same blood as the Holy Trinity, which makes him the Son of God. Through listening to the Word, putting it to action, becoming the Word itself. He became the Son of God because he has the same blood as the Holy Trinity, like a son in a family. And then what does he do in turn? How do we become children of God? Jesus then teaches us the word. We listen. We put into action. We believe in the one that is sent. We take in that same blood, that same word, and we become children of God too, right? So when you look at the analogy of when it comes to family and the Holy Trinity, you can see how we are taking in the blood of Christ, which is the words of God. And then if you think about it to the next level, you can also understand how we become brides. Now, brides, a husband and wife are not from the same family. They are not the same blood. We marry someone from another family. So in the physical world, two people from two different bloodlines come together and become one. They get married and become one. And, yes, there are some SS and Milky Way listening right now. And if you don't understand this, please ask your parents, okay? When two people get married, they become one physically, right? The lovers will, how do I put this? They will consummate the marriage. And the blood will mix, and they create children that are mixed of both of them. Their blood is mixed, and it makes the children. That's what, the lovers do. We become brides through the blood once again. Not like children, but through lovers consummating the marriage and mixing the blood together, which is only done between lovers. And that's how we spiritually can explain how the Holy Trinity is united, is one, yet separate with different roles, right? And it shows that how we become sons and how we become brides of this time too. So I hope that makes sense. And if you're SS and Milky Way, you might not understand what I just said or what I insinuated. Ask your parents. And if they ask, where did you hear this? Do not say Sky. Right? Don't say me, right? So that's kind of the explanation that I would give to help people out when it comes to the Holy Trinity. If you have any other questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Would love to hear what you guys think about this too. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's Q&A Thursday. Hope you guys understood that. So we're going to move into our second break of the day. Okay, so let's get into the final segment for today and every Thursday. We have Sermons in the Sky. I like this section because it allows me to, hone my skills for sermon delivery, because I do believe there's a time in the future where I'm going to have to preach again, right? It may not be in a church as a head leader, but I know that I'm going to have to preach again anyway. So I need to keep my sermon chops in check and make sure that I don't lose too much of my speaking skills. So today I'm going to go into something I realized from all these protests and things that have been happening lately. So let's get into today's Sermons in the Sky. So when I look at these protests, it's really interesting because we have like thousands and tens of thousands of people coming together. Now, when I look at these events, and I watch these events, when you watch it from like the internet and such, it's not like this, it's not like the events we've had in the past. The events we had in the past, we have like these professional dancers, professional cheer, professional singers. But here we have like, the regular people coming out, doing the praise together. It's not like the greatest level of dancing and singing, but we just have a lot of praise out there. And it's just a time where everyone is doing it together. And it reminded me of this time when I was one of the leaders in the church, like this is probably like 20 years ago. And maybe 20, 25 years ago. But the members in the church were planning to do a hip hop dance. And they really wanted to do something well. They were talking about like, oh, let's do an awesome dance. We're going to hire a hip hop dance instructor. We're going to make a dance. They're going to make a dance for us. They're going to teach us how to do it. We're going to do it super high level. And people really, really wanted to do something at a high level for God, like to show God, hey, we're here for, And the part that made it really difficult is expensive to hire a hip hop instructor, right? And it takes a lot of time to learn these dance moves, right? So it's not something that happens just once. It's expensive just to hire them once, but they have to hire this hip hop instructor over and over and over again. And not everyone was really keen on spending that much money and spending that much time. And what eventually happened was there wasn't even enough people who wanted to do it. And of course, at that time, people were so eager and passionate. They're like, oh, I can't believe people don't want to spend this time, even if it's a little bit money, but we're doing this for God. Kind of like they had that type of feeling. But it's understandable because not everyone has that much time. Not everyone has that much money. And then one member volunteers and says, hey, guess what? One member said they would come up with a dance themselves and teach it to everyone. And this way we don't have to spend that much money. We don't have to spend that much because it's not going to be like super high level. And then, of course, this person is total amateur. But they all reluctantly agreed to do it together because, there's no other choice. Right? They weren't that happy because they were thinking in their heads they wanted to do this at a super high level. But in the end, when they did the performance, they all danced together. Everyone did it together. It wasn't that high level, so everyone could join. And it was from an amateur who made it themselves and just taught it to everyone. And it ended up working out really well. Now, the reason why these protests remind me of this is because it is far better to do things at a lower level but get everyone involved than to do things at such a high level that only a few people can get involved. And the reason I realize about this, because it's not, when it comes to God, it's not just about the level. What's more important to God is the unity, right? What's more like God is, it's not about the level at how high the dance or the singing is. It's about the manner, the process in which we do it, which always requires discussion and unity. It's better to do it together at a lower level where everyone can contribute rather than fragmenting, dividing people and going off on their own and trying to do things at a higher level just with a few people. When in reality, if you do it together, it'll be a much higher level. That's why when you look at hip hop dance, it's much more powerful when you have like a group of 20 people doing it together in sync rather than having just 2 or 3 people. What we need to understand is there is a power of doing things together. Look at the protests. They could have done it with 100 people in a super professional way where it's hip hop dance and cheer and everything done in such a high way. Or it could be done with 30,000 people in a mid-level way. Which one will have more impact? And the answer is, it's the protests with 30,000 people. Everyone's eyes turn like, what is going? Why? What is happening with all these people? When you watch the protests, it's nothing close to the talent shows we've had in the past, when all the amazing dancers, singers, and people were on stage. Now it's just regular people doing normal things, but it's 30,000 people doing it together. It's a different level. What is the greatest thing we can do now? It's actually to work together. It's to do things in a big way, not in a small and just like a high level way, a niche that's going to be just one or two people doing it. Big and grand. But it can only happen when we work together, when we're unified. This is the way that God sees much more value in. Why? It has a bigger impact. Look at your churches right now and see. What is Satan doing? The biggest thing Satan does is to bring fracture to the church, divide the church, make people do things on their own. Satan does not want us to work together because he knows the power of unity. Satan sows disunity. Satan sows hatred, misunderstanding among each other inside the church. That's why the Bible verse is, a kingdom, a nation divided against itself cannot stand. It won't even stand. The frustration that happens because of disunity and hatred, disliking, misunderstanding, because he knows how powerful we are when we work together. The fact that Satan is trying so hard to divide us is a sign of how great our power together unified is. Think about the book I told you about yesterday. Remember I told you about the book of the Screw Tape Letters? Showing us how to be evil. But through understanding how Satan is evil, it helps us to fight against it because, that's the way he works. So this is how we're able to fight against him. Satan divides. He divides. If being unified wasn't a big deal, then why would Satan continue to divide us if there wasn't a threat? What we have to start thinking about is, yes, I've had these questions to me too. Why can't people get along? Why can't this happen? Why can't that happen? Well, when you're unified, you have the same goal. Like, I'll tell you this. When you watch the World Cup, or right now I'm watching FIBA basketball. It's the World Cup of basketball right now. Canada's in the semifinals. They just beat Slovenia. I'm so happy about this. But when you watch like the World Cup, look at Argentina. Argentina is so poor. They're going through so much economic turmoil. But when Argentina won the World Cup, everyone was friends. Why? Everyone had a common goal. That common goal was so important to them, it was more important than themselves, right? It was way more important than themselves. They looked at it and said, wow, we won as a country, high-fiving, hugging each other. They were unified. And when you see that, it is powerful. When you see 500,000 people roaming the streets celebrating the Argentinian World Cup, that's the power of unity. When you have a common goal that is so big, it is bigger than yourself, this is when powerful things happen. And when you look at what's happening even right now with the protests would be nothing if it was just 100 people doing professional things. It is powerful because it's 30,000. It's powerful because we had 3,000 in Wilmington. It's powerful we had 3,000 in Tejon. It's powerful we had 15,000 in Seoul the other week. It's powerful because we have thousands coming out. And when you look at other places, like if they start doing it in other regions like Daegu and like Gwangju and stuff like that, these cities are much smaller than Seoul. So even if you get 1,000 people, that's huge for the per capita of that city. We have to understand how big this is. But we also have to understand is we can be that much more powerful if our churches come together. It's not about what you want. It's about everyone with the same goal, discussing with each other, not worrying about, why don't we just do it my way? No, it's about discuss and agreeing with the group because it's much more powerful to do it at a lower level with everyone together than doing it at a high level where only 1 or 2 people can actually run. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's Sermons in the Sky. I hope you guys enjoyed that little sermon, and I hope it's something that will make you think more deeply about your situation in your churches right now, too. I hope you guys have an amazing and awesome Thursday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion